Thank you and welcome. And we're going to be absolutely rigorously honest this evening. Marina, who is the funniest person in the world, said, "How politically incorrect can I be?" I said, "Baby, you're turning 70 this month. It's your show, right?" So we're not going to cut any corners here. And I would like to say, for me, sometimes when visual and conceptual artists write, can we be honest? What they write, especially if it's a retrospective of their life and work, it can be high-handed, abstract, dull, confusing, self-aggrandizing, pretentious, and most of all, as I like to say again, dull. What Marina Abramović has pulled off in her new memoir, Walk Through Walls, and we'll talk about the title in a moment, is nothing short of miraculous. This book, which you all must buy, 10 copies each, and give them out all to your friends. Christmas is coming, Jewish holidays, etc. It is fascinating, compelling. It's a page-turner. It's spiritual. It's disarmingly candid. It's about a life fully lived, and also a really fascinating history of 40 years of art, not just in America, but on at least 4 continents. And it's mesmerizing reading for young and old and everyone in the middle. But for me, best of all, this book is 2 things: Balkan and hilarious. It's so funny. And the humor is extremely Balkan. And the jokes are an essential part of this book. So you may be peeing in the middle of the production, we don't know today, but you'll also be telling some jokes, we hope, along the way. And I think for me, and we will touch on at the end of this piece a little bit of this moment that our country is in. And I think you're so blessed to be on stage with this artist here at this particular moment in time. And I think your perspective will be changed, enlightened, I think, when you leave.
Shall we do right away, first we start with the Balkan
yes,
reality?
Let's start with the Balkan reality right away.
Number 9. Can we get image number 9? This image, this postcard, my brother sent to me about last year. It makes my life so happy that I'm not one of them. The title of the image, we are looking for the image, number 9. The title of the image is a Montenegro man, very proud, is going on vacation with his mother and his sister. Still no image? I love this kind of situations. You see, this is the one when Balkan nothing ever works. And then,
it's a man walking and the 2 women behind carrying stuff.
Yeah, but we have to wait for the image.
We'll wait for the image.
This is the kind of situations I love, and things you have to make out of nothing, you know. My best actually performance ever made, a lecture, it was in ex-Yugoslavia, which I start and electricity went off. And I have to make decision, or we cancel, or we talk in hours for 2. We talk in the darkness for 2 hours. I talk in the darkness for 2 hours.
While we're waiting for this image, which could take 3 hours in Balkan time or whichever, can you just give a little bit of a picture of growing up in Belgrade, what it physically looked like, the public spaces in that communist country?
Oh, God. All right. So, nothing like here. Very different. You know, communism, it's interesting structure. First of all, how we paint our walls in our houses and in official spaces. It's a kind of dirty gray or dirty green. And then light is like, not just like bright like this way. It's always this little lamp with a very low electricity, so that everything looks gloomy, and also you all look like you're, you know, sick with a liver disease or something like that. Or hepatitis, at least, you know, B in last year. So that makes you really feel miserable to start with. It kind of keep the...
A second-hand ugliness,
a second-hand
right?
ugliness, yeah.
Less functional than the good communism and more fucked up,
But, you know, this also you have to mix with this optimism of, you know, you wake up in the morning, the first thing you have the grappa and 1 raw garlic to eat, then you go to work, and you only work a few hours, basically reading newspapers and calling your friends, and then you come home. And then this was how it was, because Tito was genius. He was taking money from China, from America, from Russia, and never paid the bills till he died. And then we had the trouble.
So you've said communism mixed with mysticism was
but
very much part of my DNA.
But what happened to number 9, honestly?
We're still waiting.
Number 9?
Number 9, number 9.
Okay, let's go on and we see.
So, but I mean, growing up, it seems...
Oh, wait, this is a good moment for the joke.
Perfect. Okay, yes, please tell the joke. Excellent joke.
So, number 9. He's not coming. But, you know, in old Yugoslavia, when you're a worker in a factory and you are the best worker ever, you get really ugly Russian big watch. And then you go to pension. But this guy we're talking in the book, it was better than anybody else that you ever see. So the government said that for him, they're going to give him the car. So the guy is going to pension, and the government told him that he's going to get a car. The car is all been ordered, and it's going to come in 20 years. And the guy said, I have two very important questions. Is coming in the morning or in afternoon? He said, but what the hell, is coming in 20 years? I said, yes, I just want to know because of my appointment with the plumber. And we still don't have number 9.
We still don't have, you know, we're in Yugoslavia now.
Okay.
So, but it seems like being in that restricted, communist, oppressive environment did drive your art. It seemed like you talked at one point about lying on the ground and watching these 12 military planes go by in the sky. Imagine making art of anything. And so I think the drive to freedom was almost a response to that, was it?
Yeah. It's you know, in that time, it was not, you could leave the country, but not because you actually was very free. It was not any kind of political restrictions like in Russia. But we didn't have money to go anywhere, so we have to stay home. Oh, 9.
Here we go.
So
perfect timing.
So this is the joke that actually I just said, I showed this picture in public library in New York, and nobody laughs. So I hope you can laugh, because it's really black humor, and this is how we survive, with the black humor. So this is true story. Montenegro man with very little plastic bag, very proud, walking to go to holiday with the mother and his sister behind carrying heavy bags. But this was before the war. Now, after the war, things dramatically change. Now we have mother and the sister, heavy bags, walking to the front, very proud man with a little plastic bag behind. Why? Because of minefields.
Yay! See, they're getting Balkan. They're getting Balkan on a Tuesday night.
Balkan.
That's our Los Angeles.
This is huge improvement.
Great.
Honestly.
Okay. Good for you. Thank you. So can you talk a little bit about when you started to make art in the 1970s, Group 70 at the Student Cultural Center in Belgrade, that there was in the 60s, there was a real community of performance artists in the 70s.
It was, oh God, it was, you know, in early 70s, it was really, you know, traditional paintings in, you know, the official kind of art. But in 1968, it was a huge movement like everywhere else. So student demonstrations, we wanted different rights, different, you know, the freedom of the press and so on. And we occupied the Student Cultural Center, was given to us. And in this Student Cultural Center, we start making the art who is not anymore traditional art, trying to work with performance, with objects-related work, conceptual art. And the first exhibition we made at that time was called Dragularium. It was called, things was called like little things. This is how we actually start to think in different way. And the proposition of the exhibition was that we will bring the objects that inspire our work, but not the work itself. And it was interesting, the moment, like the one person will bring the door of his studio, and he will say, you know, when I open the studio, that's really the moment I go into a different reality and inspire me. And so he will show the door. Another man will show just a small little the green blanket, and he say, when I go to studio, first I have the nap, and I cover myself with the green blanket, and then I have ideas and I work. And another guy brought his girlfriend. He said, you know, before I go to studio, I make love to my girlfriend, then I go to studio. So she was sitting on the chair. So, you know, so it was all kinds of interesting things to think in different ways. And in that time, as we could not go anywhere, I made this piece called Aeroport. And this was in Student Cultural Center, this big area where people sit, drink coffee, waiting for the cinema, read the books, have conversations. And I have the speaker, which, with my voice, who every 3 minutes say, the passengers of Yugoslav airline yacht have to go immediately to the gate 345. We only had 3 gates, by the way. 345, because the plane is going to Honolulu, Bangkok, and Hong Kong. So every 3 minutes, this will be this announcement, and you become kind of imaginary passengers to this imaginary trip. It was the way how we can actually live. So that was a sound installation in those days.
And it was using real life, things that happen in real life, and making them into art was a lot of that time. And also it was moving away from commodification of art into performance, which then flipped back in the 70s again.
Oh, I want to just also to put number 6. Number 6, because, you know, it was so important in those days to think about different ways and how to have the freedom for an artist to make work out of nothing.
Right.
Basically, you can make work out of dust, out of stuff. In one point in my life, I just want to show this image, it's that I decided that actually I wanted to complain my life to the donkey. The donkey is such a good animal to complain to because it's so static and it doesn't move. So I've been, where is the number 6 now? I love this.
It's Balkan.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So I, you know, complained to donkey, you know, in my mind. So there is a text passing by. And donkey moved his ears in the right point. And he stand there close to 4 hours. Actually, I didn't know how to finish this work. I complain and complain and complain. And one point he had enough and just leave. So that's the work.
Not taking yourself seriously is a hilarious part, I think, when you talk about the 3 Marinas, and this is kind of like with the Onion, the sad little Marina who complains, which is really hilarious. I mean, I think after that, then we have you have the Ule section of your life, which is, and I think some of the themes from your childhood is your very difficult relationship with your mother that flew out into romantic relationships. I think also when you were young, there are great photos in the book of you in those petticoats, and you always talk about your big nose and your large ass, which I don't think you have, but it is a contouring Balkan thing that you bring to it.
Depends on perspective now. You know, we have Kardashians, you know, things change.
So in particularly, I think if you can just talk for a moment about the piece you did with Uli after coming back from Australia, the gold found by the artists.
Oh, it's such a jump. Wait, gold found by the artist.
Okay.
We have to maybe get into this slowly. So anyway, I work, you know, in 70s, and I make my own work, and then on my birthday, I was in Amsterdam when I met another artist who was born the same day as me, and we fall madly in love, like almost the same night.
November 30th.
And then we decide to work together, and we worked together for 12 years. And we finish our collaboration on the Great Wall of China, which each of us walk from different ends, meet in the middle after 3 months of 2,500 kilometers to say goodbye. And a friend of mine, William Defoe, he said to me, "Why you just don't make phone call? It was so easy." But, you know, but we did the whole thing. And then, you know, we work in 70s, and we live in the car in very simple life. Because it was really only way to not compromise to anything, not to market, to also we didn't have any money. And we didn't need to pay the rents, we didn't make telephone, you know, we just kind of have this really simple kind of existence. And it was one of the most happy lives I think I have in my life. This was this period. And then, you know, in this time, it was end of 70s, and performance was first very much in fashion, and then was very much out of fashion. And it basically, you know, the dealers, the galleries, was nothing to sell. A performance is such an immaterial form of art. Which is great about performance, it's exactly this immateriality. It's a time-based art, and you have to be in the place and time to see it. Otherwise, it's just, you miss it. You just see documentation, which is not the same thing. So we've been doing this performance work, and when the performance get out of fashion, we decide to go to nature because everybody will start painting, and we didn't want to go back to this medium. So we went to nature, we went to lots of deserts, to Sahara, to Gobi Desert, to Thar Desert, and so on. And then we went in the Great Australian Desert, which we spent 1 year. And this was a very life-changing experience. And after that experience, we came back to the city and created this work that you want to know, called Night Sea Crossing. And Night Sea Crossing was not crossing the sea by night. It was night sea of your subconscious. It was very simple, sitting, you know, in the front of each other at the table and not eating for 16 days and being in the present time. And later on, when we split, you know, Great Wall of China, and I start performing, you know, like Artist is Present was very much inspired by this work, except there was no Ulay in the front of me, become the public he was replaced by the public. It was everybody else.
And I think what is interesting about that also, and there's a lot of different ways that you can read this book, is there's a real male-female duality that's interesting, because Ulay, on the 10th day, he couldn't do the piece anymore because he went to the hospital with a spleen, and you said, well, it was partly anatomical, that he didn't have enough flesh on his rear and he had testicles, so he just couldn't endure the same work that you did.
I just have a law case with him, and I lost it, so I'm not commenting anything. And can we go to, let's go for three. That's interesting. We go, I just kind of show you little things. So 3 is, after we split, I've been very much thinking about mortality, because it was a big story in my life, and it was very painful. And then I made this piece called, Nude with Skeleton, because I went to the place to construct exactly skeleton, exactly size of my body. And I put skeleton on my body, and it's just very simple, like almost still life, which I'm breathing, skeleton is breathing. But it's also, reflecting to immortality, that, we're all mortal, and to thinking about that and thinking about, last period of your life, which, being 70 is in the front of me. And also this book came as a reflection to this. Because, writing the book in this moment in my life was very, very important. It was painful, but it was so important to put the humor in it, but also to write something without anger, to have really perspective and see what things as they are. And this you need to take time to kind of get to some kind of wisdom to do that, with not too emotional and not too angry.
And I think, and sex and death are always very close. In the Balkans, you said that they think this really illustrates. I mean, when you were younger, there was a clairvoyant in Zagreb, which is one of the great tales of the story, a clairvoyant in Zagreb who would take Turkish coffee and do the grounds on Russian newspapers.
Oh, we believe in all this stuff, yes.
So many great stories here. And he said, interestingly, that you would not get success until you were older.
Yeah, he said lots of things. I was only 21, he told me all these things.
And did you believe that? Do you think that's true? How do you think about that now?
Not only that I believe this, but this was the man who told me about things that the people are going to meet and their names, and I meet them 10 years later. These things exist, because, when you come from Balkan, you believe in clairvoyance, you believe in your dreams, you believe things that your rational mind can't explain. And I think we all have this, but we always live so much through our rational mind. We also don't really use our intuition. We use technology to replace our intuition. And I think there are 2 kinds of wisdom that I always want to say. One is the wisdom of mind, and one is the wisdom of the body. And we very, very few of us actually follow this body wisdom, that actually know exactly what you have to do, and they have the kind of guiding line through our life.
And well, I think your teaching techniques are very interesting, because I think there's some commonality with some of the Tibetan monks that you've hung out with, of the exercises that really quiet the mind and can complain to a tree if not to a donkey. So is that about calming the mind and making an energy space?
Yeah, I like to call myself sometimes Dr. Abramović tells you what to do. But it's like actually the method came out of this experience, really looking and being connected to many different cultures, to shamanism, to different rituals, and with the people can do things that we can't even explain how is possible. I mean, just a simple Tuma exercise of Tibetans. They're sitting, monks naked under incredible freezing temperature, -25, and they have the students, monks, putting their towels on the shoulders, and they make a little game. Who dry more towels with the body temperature is a winner. But what is happening? They have this Tuma exercise, which takes 4 years to learn, that you can visualize fire in your solar plexus, who can literally raise temperature in your body on a huge amount of degree. And from that extra energy we have in our body. We don't know this. It's easy is actually possible to learn. And I think being performance artist, I need to learn certain things to be able to demonstrate this kind of energy.
Is there any connection between that and what you felt was happening during The Artist is Present, where people would come and sit for 7 hours in front of you, they would burst into tears? What did that feel like?
With Artist is Present, I could never do this piece when I was 20. it's not just that you need, you can be trained physically like a for Olympic Games. You still could not do it if you don't have focus and willpower and determination and that kind of energy that I learned through all my 50 years of career. I could never do when I was young. When I was young, I was so much more interested in pushing physical limits of my body. But actually, the most difficult is to deal with emotions and mental limits. That's where really the learning process starts.
Even though you still push yourself, I think you said when you were doing Thomas Lips several years late, like many years later, you do it for 7 hours instead of one that's like cutting a razor blade in your stomach.
And I was 65. That's pretty.
Yeah, 65, 7 hours of performance. That's amazing.
7 days, 7 different performances.
Yes.
It was quite good example of this, that you actually can do things when you really get the, willpower.
Yes. Well, you get to be in a glorious retrospective time of your life. There was a painter, Kirsto Hegedusik in Zagreb. I don't know how close I got to pronouncing that. In the early 70s, he said, if you're a good artist, you might have one good idea. If you're a genius, you might have 2, period. And he was right. End of paragraph. So you're a genius.
No,
what do you
I never
think were
said
your
that.
2
I
good
just said
ideas?
that he was right telling this kind of stuff. But it's so hard to get one good idea. But
Do you have one good idea you think you had?
my real good idea was to concentrate on one medium, which is performance and working with the body. That was really that good idea. I don't think I have second good idea. I'm not genius, but good idea is, it's so difficult in our life. We have so many choices and we lose ourselves in choices. Like just about meditation or spirituality. This is like a huge shopping area. Every 5 days you can believe in something else and do something else and do some other courses. And you really don't focus on anything properly. So you have to kind of create that choice and stick to it, and then really create results.
And I think, well, the idea of art, I mean, it's a question that you've kept asking yourself decade after decade, and I think in The Artist is Present, you almost felt like what people said they felt was, you felt the pain of overwhelming love, unconditional love.
Oh, can we have 8, please? That's a nice image for unconditional love. 8.
And you said, is it art? I'm not sure if it's art, it's love. I mean, how do you feel about what is art, Marina, do you think today?
I always have a very similar answer to this because I think it's very much to do with the context. If you're an artist, you work in the context of art. If you are a gardener, you are the gardener and you work in the context of being gardener. If you are making the bread and you're a great baker, but if you take the same bread and make in the gallery, you're an artist. So it's the context would make the change, where you are. And I think I've never been anything else but an artist. I never want to be anything else. I could not, I just, and then I ask, when you ask students, they say, come to me and they say, oh, I want to be an artist. I say, then you're not. You can't kind of want to be an artist. It's like a breathing. Do you question your breathing? You just breathe, and that's it. So when you wake up in the morning, you have ideas and you make them. And you can't really, you get obsessed, you're in fever, you have the strength to do things, and that's how things are. I mean, this image I just wanted to show you, this is really important, how the actually spirit can can control the body. And it's not Photoshop.
And I mean, you teach a lot of young people. I think particularly now they're American youths, and they grow up in a very different, I suppose, society than you growing up in Belgrade. Do you think there's a challenge or freedom in them having grown up with a different childhood than you?
But you see, that's so complicated, the freedom. Like it's good to have freedom, but at the same time, it's good to have discipline, And I don't know, it's thinking about I just wrote something recently, Leonard Cohen died, and I wrote something in New York Times just about my dinner with Leonard Cohen, which I have for 4 hours. And we just talk about this kind of discipline, because he was very big Zen master, practitioner in meditation. But, it's like it's a kind of 2 ways to get to the top of the mountain. You can have teacher, and the teacher requires complete discipline and dedication to him, and then he brings you straight to the top of the mountain, but with that discipline. Or you don't have any discipline, you have all freedom you want, and you never get to the top of the mountain. So you have to, discipline is a part of the getting where you actually want to be.
Yes. All right, so now we've come to we call it the elephant in the room moment. And I think it's interesting that you have often done your pieces. I think the house with the ocean view was just after September 11th in New York, and you described the intensity of the people in that room. And of course, I was reading this book immersed in it during the last couple of weeks of a rather horrific and surprising election for many, particularly in this room. We're in a blue state, in a blue city on the Getty, west of the 405. I don't think there are many Trump people in this room, but if you are, you'll be stoned on the way out in a performance art way, and we'll kind of plie around it, and then we'll make it a happening. But I wonder, you're, Balkan Baroque, you say, here you have the essence of Balkan Baroque, horrifying carnage and an intensely disturbing story followed by a sexy dance, then a return to more bloody awfulness. I think, you have, and I'll let you go, we have a new president who's seen as the apocalypse, and the hysteria amongst the blue staters is off the charts. So I have a question for you, and do you have a Balkan perspective to offer? Either you can go, it's gonna be hell, or grow up victim elites. There are always wars in the world.
Wow.
You go.
That's a very
you can go anywhere.
Tricky question. But anyway, what I can tell, I really looked these elections. It was incredible to me to see this whole thing. But somehow it was so logical that Trump win. Because it's like, it's like, to me, the worst is the best, as a Sufi says. Because you have to go all the way down in order to wake up. Mm-hmm. It's like a nation was amused by the entertainment without seeing that actually this is going to be reality. And it was so interesting to see how this was looking towards. I can't vote, I have just green card. I pay $2,700 like everybody else to support Hillary in the beginning. And it was not possible that she's going to win, because 50 million Americans it's not Los Angeles, it's not New York, but somewhere in this country think exactly what what he's saying, but not saying it.
Right.
And that's a very serious business. We really have to see the big picture. It's not just about him. I think that the entire monetary system is going to, okay, my prediction of future.
Go.
All right. Monetary system is going to completely collapse because it's absolutely virtual and doesn't really have funds to back. I think that it will be so many natural disasters because we are destroying the planet, and there will be huge migration of different people running around the world, and everybody's going to move to Australia, and Australia is going to close the borders, so it will not be possible. And, and we're in big shit.
Yeah.
And the worst is the best. So we have to learn from this.
And I think the one thing that I want to also add, and that's the politically incorrect that you mentioned, just about Americans and how much privilege we take. We're very privileged, and we tend to get really freaked out about many smaller things. I think you'd mentioned your really good friend Susan Sontag.
What is this one? Is this 2? Yeah, this is 2. Number 2, please, image.
And you did that without glasses. Yeah. That's amazing. Just that after 9/11, it was a horrible thing, but it happens that on every part of the planet every day. So it's kind of sometimes putting into perspective that people find our warrior Marina within and go. I was thinking actually of your TED Talk also, your fantastic TED Talk. There's so much, Marina, to look at of how human beings change consciousness. Do you remember?
Yeah, but I just put this image for you.
Perfect.
Perfect. This
yes,
was...
exactly.
This was I was asked to participate in Venice Biennale, it was during the Balkan War, and I came with this idea that I have this huge amount of cow bones, and I washed them for hours and hours, for 5 days, 7 hours a day. And you never can wash blood, ever, whatever you do. But this image was for me really important. I wanted to create the image. The smell was unbearable. There was worms. It was the middle of the summer. The room was not air conditioned, and it was really not easy to do it. But I wanted to create this obsessive image of the rotten meat, and just to It was done for the Balkan War at that time, but now the Balkan War is finished, but it's every time is anywhere, somewhere war. So that I want to create something which actually can serve anywhere, anytime, just to remind us that we're still human beings who are killing people. We're still human beings who we are billionaires and we have still poverty and people not into it. And these things are not changing. And I think that somebody was asking me, but if politicians should read one book, what should be? And my answer is immediately, Autobiography of Gandhi. Read that book and see what happened. Because without changing consciousness of human being, we can't change anything. But to change consciousness is not criticizing something there is happening. It's see what you can do on your own level with your own means. And me as an artist, you as a writer, what we can contribute. That's only what matters. And if everybody do that, world will be different. But changing consciousness is a long process. And this is nothing else can be done except that.
Yeah, it was so stunning when I read it at that moment where you said, we all want change and it's personal and it starts with us.
Susan Sontag was an incredible human being. And, she made this 4 hours of the TV program, which was only once broadcast. And in this TV program, she said things that nobody want to hear. During the September 11, she said, why American people think they're more important than anybody else. September 11 is every day somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out that we have to think as a human beings, not as a nations, as a global human beings, all together.
Harmony, symmetry, Baroque, neoclassic, pure, bright, shiny, high heel shoes, erotic, turning around, big nose, large ass, et voila, Abramović. Is there anything as you turn 70 in your fabulous Guggenheim Jubilee next month that you would add to that list about you, your work, and the shiny future that's ahead?
No, I think that I just want to say that this book was such a liberation for me to finish. It was like a change in skin, like you're really finishing past and you're kind of opening the door of the last period of your life. And that's what I wanted to have, lots of fun. I want to have this humor, first about myself, about the world, and also be able to see big picture. What is the big picture? Sometimes when I'm desperate and depressed and, blue, I go to this natural history, the museum in New York, and there is this planetarium for the kids. When you go and it's program 11 minutes or 6 minutes. Now it's a dark matter, but when I went there, it was about our Milky Way, and then you are lying there on this kind of couch, and they open this huge Milky Way, and then George Clooney, or one of these voices, comes and says, and this is a planet Earth. And this is a tiny little dot in the universe. We are not even in Milky Way in the center. We are kind of on suburb, like in Brooklyn. And when you see that, how everything looks and what we are doing to each other here on this planet is ridiculous.
And what about the title, Walk Through Walls?
So many people see the wall and they stop there. My idea is, let's walk through. And my motto, if you tell me, no, this is just the beginning then. But can we show my onion, my really domestic piece?
Yes.
This is number 1. Why I like this piece? It's very domestic, it's onion, I'm just eating onion. Actually, for this piece, I have to eat 3 onions. One onion light was not good enough, another was the camera was doing something wrong. So the 3rd onion was right, so I would really burn my throat. But onion is like, eating onion is like a peeling life. And then I'm complaining about life. And this was the time before internet. So I just want you to listen to this. It's very important, the last part of this, what I'm saying. That I'm saying that I really want to get old, really old, when nothing matters anymore. And I want not to want anymore. So this was my kind of confession. Eating onion, and it's very important aesthetic of it. Red nails, because you always, in the 70s, you're not supposed to have red nails if you're a female artist. And blue sky and looking up. It's a kind of almost spiritual piece. And I'm really eating this onion. But I'll just show you the beginning because it's too long anyway. Till then. I'm tired from changing planes so often. waiting in the waiting rooms, bus stations, train stations, airports. I'm tired of waiting for endless passport controls, fast shopping in the shopping malls. I'm tired of more and more career decisions, museum and gallery openings, endless receptions, standing around with a glass of plain water, pretending that I'm interested in conversations. I'm so tired of my migraine attacks, lonely hotel rooms, dirty bed sheets, room services, long-distance telephone calls, bad TV movies. I'm tired of always falling in love with the wrong man. Tired of being ashamed of my nose being too big, of my ass being too large, ashamed about the war in Yugoslavia. I want to go away, somewhere so far that I'm unreachable by telephone or fax. I want to get old, really old, so that nothing matters anymore. I want to understand and see clearly what is behind all of this. I want not to want anymore. So, can you take sound out, but let me eat the onion, just one. So, shall we ask the public?
Yes.
What they want to know?
Yeah.
Ask me anything.
Anything.
Basically.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a microphone in each aisle and one up on the balcony as well.
Thank you for being here. You said you're not a feminist. What does that word mean to you, and do you still think that's relevant for today's times?
Which word? I'm sorry? Okay, I can repeat
Sorry,
that.
which
the word
word?
Feminist?
Yeah.
Do you still think you are a feminist, or what
You
does
said
that...
you're not.
You said you're not.
I'm still not.
Why?
What does it mean this time?
I don't know. I don't like to be put in any groups. I think the art doesn't have any gender at all. There is only one thing that we can put art into two categories: good art, bad art. That's it. And who is making is irrelevant to me. It could be, transgenders or lesbian or the African Americans, or it doesn't matter. I hate to be put in some kind of ghetto, like a feminist art or this kind of art. And so many feminist exhibitions, at least in my time, was always one good feminist artist and 20 bad ones. I don't want to be in this category. I really, it's important to me that we are absolutely equal as anybody else. And I was always asked, but why, there's so much less women artists than the men? And I really have answer to this, because the woman doesn't want to sacrifice as much as a man. Simply, we want to have the family and the children and be happy and so on. And it's not possible. We have just one energy in our body. I mean, Louise Bourgeois was a great artist. First, her husband have to die, the children have to grow up, and then she become great artist. I just could not deal with this. I also have a very strong mother who, in communism, a woman was as strong as a man. We didn't have any of this distinguished. So I come from different background, and I was really happy. And I never felt ever that I didn't get less or I've been treated differently, because I just take my rights, and that's it. I always did.
How has art shaped your life, and what have you learned over the course of your art career?
In one sentence or less.
You know, but art, in my case, is everything is together, absolutely. You know, I don't know, I don't think I even have private life in my life for a long time. I just work. And I just come and have ideas, and there's the times I don't have ideas, then I just do life, and I do research, and I go to the places where there's no Coca-Cola electricity, and get to the nature, and look in the volcanoes, or be in a solitude, look in the running rivers. So, you know, and then comes the work like a kind of three-dimensional image in my head, and then the work that I think, oh, is nice, I don't want to do it at all. The things that I say, oh my God, I'm really afraid of it, that's interesting for me, and then I do it. And I don't know, it's just one old thing. And what I learned that if you really good work of art, especially performance arts, because it's such a living form of art, you can be transformative, not just for you, but for the public too. And this is why, for me, my work changed in so many ways. In the beginning, you know, when I started performances in the 70s, it was just 10 people. 20 was big public, 30 was like, wow. And then, you know, it was always the situation that you're performing and the public is sitting. But then I understood it was a kind of strange kind of structure that actually you have to give complete freedom to the public. So I removed the seats. So the public will come and go. If they see that energy is strong, they will stay. If they don't, they leave. And then I changed this again, and I created a situation like an artist is present. There's just, you know, the one-to-one experience plus the public is watching. And then I removed this too. In 512 Hours of Serpentine, I realized that the public is my tool. Public is the body to work. And I realized that also that I can't transmit all my experience to the public without public actually feeling what performance is by doing themselves. So I created tools for the public in order to interact and to get to that kind of state of presence, which I'm doing now. And I have hundreds of thousands of people, just kind of incredibly overwhelming. And my public right now, it's not just art public, it's everybody, it's especially young public. My public is everybody from 12 years old to under the 30, they're major public. My age public really worries me. When they come to my exhibition, they think, or I'm dead, or they're jealous, or something is wrong with me. But the young public is where I knew my life, my work lives. So I learned a lot in these 50 years of my career.
A question on the right side.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I must say, you know, I think you're amazing, and I think your work is great. And one of the things that I really admire you was when you did the lentils. You know, you separated the rice and the lentils. I think that exercise is amazing. And, you know, I'm just thinking, is there like do you have an advice or an exercise that, you know, I can do at home that not take 7 hours?
I have, absolutely, yes, immediately.
Yeah.
Rice is a good exercise too, but you know, if you don't want to rice, I have something else for you. I mean, first, just to tell you a little bit about rice. It's so simple. You have rice and lentils, and you have in front of you, and you have like, you know, 1 pound of one pound another. So before you even start, you have to mix them together. You have to make a very important decision. How long are you going to do it? If you're just going to separate one another, maybe it will take 1 hour. If you want to count only lentils, it will take maybe 3 hours. If you want to count only rice, another 3 hours. If you do everything together, it's 6 hours. And you have to make this first decision that how long you're going to do it. And then the most important thing is to stick to this decision and not give up. Because our mind is so tricky. And after 2 hours, first in the beginning is kind of amusing and it's interesting. Then you start getting completely, you know, bored. Then you get angry. What the hell I'm doing here? Why I don't want to any of this? You know, just smash everything. This is what mind doing. But you don't have concentration. Then you get hard, you start breathing very fast. But the one moment that you really put your mind into this peaceful moment and say, no matter what, I'm going to do it, your breathing starts completely to be equal, and time stops, and then you have this feeling of achievement. So my story is very simple. If you could not count rice and lentils, you can't make life either. And so this is about rice and lentils. But other exercise is very simple. I really suggest everybody to do. You know, you wake up sometimes in the morning, if it's a weekend, and you have so much energy, and now you're going to call the friends, you do everything, and you go in the end of the day, you spend all energy shopping, looking at the movies, and you're exhausted. But what about, you have all this energy in the morning, you wake up, you turn your telephone off, you turn your computer off, you put your watch away, take a comfortable chair, sit next to the window or wherever is comfortable for you, and do absolutely nothing. Just sit, not cross the legs because it's not good with the blood system, just sit and see what happens. Where this energy, which you have in your body, you're not spending outside, it starts going inside. It's an incredible exercise of self-realization, so simple, but we are not doing it. So this is my present for you today.
It's not. You should buy the book, and it has many more exercises and things like that. Buy the book, and you'll be excellent.
Oh, wait, one more exercise is so good. And just to tell you my another favorite one. So, anger. Anger is such a bad thing to do. You know, when you're angry, you're very angry. And it's like a poison in your body. You know, you're angry on this election. You're angry on your states of your life. You're broken with your lover. Whatever is anger. And the anger can eat you, and it makes you sick. So what you do to change the anger is not to suppress anger, but to change pattern of anger. And this is a wonderful old, Tibetan exercise. When you're really, really angry, what you have to do, sit quietly on the chair, breathe as much air in your lungs as possible, and then you just stop breathing. Just stop breathing. Don't breathe. But don't breathe and push not breathing to the point that you get in blue. And you say, if I don't breathe now, I'm just going to suffocate. And then you breathe. And the deep breaths that you take in your lungs, 90% anger is gone. It's incredible. So simple. But what we do, this is one other demonstration. What we do if somebody is angry on you, you can't tell him, I'm just going to stop breathing. I'm going to kill him. So stand up, stand there. Use there. Okay, I'm here. So here. So you're angry on me. Really, you're going to go like this, really. And we're in the room, and it's going to be really bad. Not so close. And you're going to be very angry on me. So before I know that we're going to have this discussion, so I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you, I know we're going to have this discussion, but please, can you just change position? Okay. Go on my place.
Oh.
That's it. You change position. You're completely confused. You don't know why. And 90% anger is gone.
That was amazing. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
And of course, Dr. Abramović, more research. I could put a tent at the front of Getty Museum and, charge $1 per session.
That is amazing.
Hi, Marina. My question is, how do you feel before a performance versus afterward?
Wow. All right. I am terrified. I'm so nervous. If I'm not nervous, I'm nervous when I'm not nervous. But I'm definitely nervous. And especially when it's long durational work, it starts not just the moment before, but start months before, 2 months before. It's like this feeling in the stomach that kills you, that is kind of strange thing that stays there forever. Your breathing becomes short, you're in panic. And just before going to do performance, mostly in the toilet, I'm just sitting in the toilet, doing nothing, but just always in the toilet. I don't know, feel like a safe place. And then the moment you step in the front of the public, everything disappears. I don't know how that happened, but this is like, little you is transmitted into some kind of higher self you. And that all things don't matter anymore. And then it's just that different reality of public and you and nothing else. And when I finish the work, all I want to do is to have ice cream.
Okay, we're going to go up to the balcony now.
And that's really honest.
Hi, my name's Adam, and I was just wondering that when you said you fell in love with the wrong men and you were tired of it, what was the reason for that? Did that trace back to your insecurities, or what was
I just chose the wrong man, my dear. What I can do? It's terrible. I don't know. It's like, it looks like I really like complicated people. And, I don't know how things works. But, sometimes when somebody unconditionally loves you, you go in your nerves. And then you look for somebody really difficult. But I didn't have luck in love, that's for sure. I didn't. But also, I think I'm just too much. because I'm definitely not any marriage material. I don't do anything. I don't cook. I just do work, and then I'm always gone because I'm nomadic and I travel. I can't send the painting, because I don't paint, so I have to send myself. I remember last year I traveled so much. I'd been in 10 countries in 12 days. It was crazy, and I come to with my boyfriend to go to the cinema. And I sit in the chair and try to put safety belt. I completely lost it. I just didn't know where I was. And then, and then is this feeling of guilt. Always somebody's waiting for you because you're working. And, by living alone is wonderful. No guilt. I just can do whatever I want.
Hi. Is this on? Hi. I was just wondering, and it's kind of a hard question to ask, but your art, which is performance art, defies conventions, which most people live by, and so that's what makes it really, I think, attractive to see, because it's something that most people feel like they can't do, or they're not looking at the world that way. And in life, we're also contained by conventions. Do you look at life most of the time is just completely absurd because we're all living by these conventions all the time? So when you're by yourself and you're not doing performance art, are you doing things that go against the grain in your everyday life?
There are a few things that's so important, I think, that we can, doesn't matter if I'm an artist or if you're doing whatever you're doing, or you're working in business or any other job. It's so important that one thing, not to repeat yourself. Because, if you do things always the same way and you're so good in this, just try a different way. Because the repeating yourself becomes such a, you kind of lost respect to yourself. Your brain stopped working. It's, what is so important? To keep this curiosity of the child. Like, to see the world, even if you see hundreds of times, but every time to find a way to see a new way. If you go and buy the milk in one way, just can you find 10 ways to buy milk in different ways? Take different roads, lost yourself. Some of the things I really love is you take the map of the city and blindfold yourself and put the point, and just go there and see what happened there. Is some kind of sign or something will change or something will new bring to your life. But that curiosity and that kind of constant investigation and openness, it's important for everybody. Otherwise, you are completely thinking in a box and you never can find new things. That the things where they really, the people get inventive or they do things is when they really change the patterns. And to change patterns is everything. Like how many people are reading great books and they think they have changed their life. But it's not true. You read the great book, you finish the great book, you put on the table, and you're exactly the same. Because you didn't make the journey. All secrets is that you have to make the journey. And without making that journey, nothing will happen.
Well, great honor to be able to say this to you, but I'm a great admirer. Many times I've been to places, I'm a nomad like you, that happen to have something of Marina. Last year in Tasmania, a retrospective, your MoMA show. And a month ago, I was in Brazil, and I saw your documentary, The Space Within, about your spiritual journey in Brazil. And that just...
You mean the space in between?
The space in between.
Oh, you saw that?
I saw that last month, and it just...
Where?
In Brazil.
Oh.
And it just transformed my life, your openness, your courage, how you saw your spiritual journey, and you were able to bring that into your art was just so inspiring. So my question is, what did you get from your spiritual journey with ayahuasca and all the things you saw in Brazil, and how were you able to translate that into your work?
I should just explain to people that we are showing this film on the 13th of December in New York. It took me 4 years to work on this film. It's called Space in Between. And it's really space in between the kind of reality and fiction and subconscious. I made research in Brazil to meet shamans, to meet healers, to meet the people who do unconventional things and push the limits of their body, just to learn from them. And it was a very important journey for me because it was important to go to that other state of consciousness. And you saw this film, the Americans didn't see it, but it was very important. It was really, Oh, I learned so much there. I learned so much, and I get so scared, especially ayahuasca scared me, to tell you the truth. But a part of this, I met this man called John of God, who incorporated 150 spirits in his body, and he healed people. He take the kitchen knife and cut your body and take cancer out, and without anesthetics, you don't feel the pain. And I could not believe. I was thinking it was mass hypnosis, but on the end, I wanted to film him. And he said to me, "I'm just ordinary man. I have to ask 150 spirits that if they like you to film this." So I wait there for 10 days, and finally spirits say they're okay with me. So I filmed this material. It's pretty incredible. I even assist in operation of the eyes and body. And anyway, if you see this movie, it's going to be, actually Vimeo, you can see it on Vimeo very soon. It's called Space in Between. It was an important journey. I do this journey. I don't do any more holidays. I do research trips. And that was one of them. Actually, when I was very young, when I was only 14 years old, there was this incredible anthropologist called Tibor Sekel, and he was the guy who will go to see all these ex-cannibals or Papua New Guinea people or different cultures, and he will be with them for 1 year, then you come back and give these talks about this, what he saw. And I was in the first row, and all I want to do is to visit by myself all these things and experience myself. And that's what I've been doing since then. Curiosity.
Okay, so it looks like we've got the last question over here.
So let's be good question last.
Oh, the pressure. I'm going to keep it light. Is there anywhere, you've traveled so much all over the world, is there anywhere in the world you haven't been to that you really want to go to? And part two is there any period of time in history that you wish you could have lived in?
For me, I always go there, and I think this is the most important trips of my life. It's going to India, and I'm constantly, every year, go to India. Why India? Because India is the place that it's the place where life and death is everyday activity, and you see it. It's not hidden like in our culture. We talk about that, you think we're all immortal and ever young, which is not true, and we're all going to die. But there is visible, and this is such a learning process. To me, India is the place that I learned the most. And in time where I got to travel, I don't know. I always want to be in the present. I want to be right here, right now, and nowhere else. That's the truth. Because, it's so easy that we go into the past and we kind of have melancholy about the past. It's so easy to dream about future. But one thing that escapes us always is right now, right here, right this moment. That's the most difficult. Because even you're sitting here and say, oh my God, she's talking another 10 minutes, I want to catch the bus or do something. But to be here in that moment is the only reality we have. Next second, the ceiling can fall down and we are not here, or asteroid hits the planet, or whatever. But that present moment, if we can just extend the present moment, then we will experience moment of no time. There's a time thinking about past, there's time thinking about future, but present doesn't have time. This is timeless moment of all of us together right now, right here. Thank you.